matter of public record. We have this owl guy he's awesome in a small room. He's not so great in the big room. So he will zoom in on like weird random sounds, but not necessarily you if you're speaking. So be conscious of that. If you make a lot of noise as you go to pick your nose, he's going to see it. And also if you contribute and you speak, try to project so that it does get on it hits the microphone. So with that, I think we are good to start the December 12th, 2022 LWIB 23 board meeting.
All right, welcome everyone. We will start off with a roll call. Debbie, please do the roll call.
Gerald Billiard.
Here.
Jim Bowler. Kevin Binker.
Here.
Casey Burkholzer. Lori Jennings for Kevin Busher. Here. Brian Cannon.
Here.
Pat Click. Mike Conrad. Sandy Daters. Here. Cassie Iger. Here. Carolyn Jorgensen. Here. Mandy Marshall. Josh McElravy. Julie Obermark.
Here.
John Perry. Lori Foreman. Here. Deb Reed. Here. Denise Smith. Chris Stroll. Here. Kim Taylor. Here. Carol Tracy. I see her up there. Connie Waldron. Jason Warfel.
Here.
Courtney Yockey.
Here.
Austin Twilling. We have a quorum.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you all again for coming to conduct business. Take care of that. Good. So with that, everyone got in the packet previous month's previous meeting board minutes from September 19th. Have an opportunity to see those. Does anyone have any corrections or additions they need to make to these minutes? Not, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve these amendments. Hey, Kim, thank you. Do we have a second for approval of the September minutes? All right, thank you, Casey. That. We just do a yea or nay, right?
Yep.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. All right. Item 3. Anyone here this evening have a conflict of interest in any items that will be taking action on?
Gerald, I do. I need to abstain on service provider contract.
Well, any others? Okay. If not, we'll move on for the board training. Jamie, you're up.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Jamie Corda-Hajawi, the director. We, a few meetings ago, sometime this year, we were thinking about having guest speakers and who would be most relevant and everything, but we were coming to the conclusion that after COVID, there's been a big turnover in the board, and even tonight, we're seeing a pretty significant turnover in our CEOs. So this is just another installment of board training that we are conducting over the next few meetings to kind of get us all back on track or to get a better understanding, because I've been in WIOA world every day for the last 2.5 years, and there's still some stuff I don't understand. There's still new things I learn all the time. So I can only imagine what it's like for you guys just coming to these quarterly meetings. So Debbie and we recently did a training for the Planning and Oversight Committee, looking at the fiscal aspect of what goes on at LWIB 23 and with Jeff, and it was great. He raised a lot of interesting questions that made us really think we need to do this for the entire board. Focus on those monthly financial reports that we asked you guys to look at. So Debbie and I have come up with some stuff we'd like to just bring your attention to. It will be a little reminder for those of you who have been here for a while. It might bring something new to light for those who have not been doing this very often. So we'll just real quick go over some general WIOA information. We'll go over some definitions. And then we'll look at those monthly reports that you get every month in the monthly e-newsletter that I know you all open and read very diligently every word of that. I know you do. So I just like to start all of our trainings out with this quote because it puts things into perspective, but no economy can succeed without a high quality workforce, particularly in the age of globalization and technical change. In the last 2 years, I feel like technology has changed so much so quickly. We're like on this verge of even more rapid change. So this quote is going to be very relevant for a while. So those of you that are new, and those of you that have been here for a while, this is no surprise, nothing new, but WIOA, what is WIOA? It's Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. It's a landmark legislation that's designed to strengthen and improve our nation's public workforce system and help getting Americans, including youth and those with significant barriers to employment, into high quality jobs and careers, and help employers hire and retain skilled workers. That is what we're doing here. It's economic development through workforce development. And that is why LWIA 23's mission is to create a workforce talent pipeline, connecting people with sustainable employment through our training services. And we work towards that mission with the following strategies: work-based training, industry recognized credential attainment, support of disadvantaged individuals, business and sector partnerships, and collaboration with local education institutions. So as you see there, LWIA 23, we're 13 counties from Moultrie over to Edgar, down to Lawrence, over to Marion, and everything in between. There's the state map right there, so you can see all the other LWIAs. You'll notice we're pretty big. We're 6,500 square miles. That's bigger than the state of Connecticut, so pretty big area. So with that landmark legislation that says they want us to do some economic development through workforce development, they got to give us some money to do that, and that is why we are here. This is the WIOA Grant Board. So the U.S. Department of Labor gives that WIOA grant money to Illinois, gives it to all the states, but Illinois, it goes to the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. From there, it is divided out into those LWIAs that we saw. So each LWIA is comprised of a chief elected official. That's where we get CEO from, chief elected official from each county in that LWIA. We have 13 CEOs, one from each of those counties. The main function of the CEOs is to be fiscally responsible for that grant money that we're getting, and then to select the board members. So you all are here because a CEO has selected you. From there, the funds go to the fiscal agent, which is Lakeland College, and to the board, which is you guys. And then we have CEFS as our service provider. So what is your role as a board member? You all pretty much know by now. It's attending the meeting, so thank you for being here. It's supporting our mission, it's making connections, and it's governance. And under governance, you see that second bullet point is provide fiscal oversight. That is why it's important that you are taking a look at the monthly reports, that you are analyzing them, looking for anything that you have questions about or concerns about, and bringing those to our attention or asking us about them. So as we get into the actual training, we'll take a look at some definitions that we're going to talk about. We say a ton of jargon that we just take for granted that you guys understand, because we're talking about it all the time, day in, day out, 8-9 hours a day. But you guys might not think of it the same way we do. So we wanted to be clear. So when we talk about the WIOA formula grant, we say formula a lot, the formula funds. That's our three main funding streams: the adult, the dislocated worker, and the youth. So it's called formula because we get that particular amount based on an algorithm somewhere in someone's computer that takes a ton of different things into consideration, including unemployment rates, population, economic need of the area, and a ton of other things that I don't always understand. These formula grants, they are 2-year grant cycles. So we get one every year, but they last for 2 years. So at any given moment, we have at least 2 grants going on. And then we have the trade grant, or we'll also refer to as TAA or trade. And that is, it's aid to workers who have become unemployed because of increased imports from or shifts in production to foreign countries. So that is not considered our formula grant, because that is only available when there's an event such as facility closing because they're moving to a different country, or there's just been some sort of effect resulting in layoffs because of foreign trade. So trade grant is separate. A lot of the same WIOA regulations go with it, but a lot of the benefits for the individuals are better or more comprehensive than the WIOA typical services. Then this is where I get confused sometimes because we talk in plan years, but we also sometimes talk in fiscal years. And then at the college, they throw an academic year too, and it just confuses me. So our plan years run from July 1st to June 30th. But the numeral that starts, so like plan year 21, that numeral is the year that the grant that plan starts. So PY 21, plan year 21 starts July 1st and ends June 2023. And then fiscal year, our fiscal year is July 1st through June 30th, but the numeral is the ending year. So fiscal year 23 is July 1st, 2022, that ends June 30th, 2023. So plan year 22, I've already confused myself, but we're in two different, it's plan year and fiscal year. We're talking about the same time, but it's a different date on there. So it gets confusing. And I will talk myself into circles, so I'll just keep going past that. And then we talk about IWDS a lot. That is Illinois Workforce Development System. It's an information system that's used to collect the info about the customers who have been served by WIOA or trade. So when we say IWDS, real fast, it is the data system. We talk about enrollment. So those are participants who have been assigned to LWIA 23 in IWDS, and they might not have necessarily be receiving services yet, but they are enrolled. And then we have participants of WIOA. So those are individuals who have received at least one direct training service from LWIA 23 as documented in IWDS. Then we talk about GRS, those reports, you'll see GRS on some of them. That is grant reporting system. That's the electronic reporting system that we use to communicate with DCEO to get requests for cash for reporting grant costs, obligations, and miscellaneous receipts and disbursements. We talk about overhead, that is LWIA 23, which includes Lakeland and staff salary, benefits, utilities, etc. And then we talk about direct training. So that's usually referring to on-the-job training, workforce or work experience costs, occupational skills, pre-voc training, and supportive services. So one thing that really helped me when I look at some of these grant reports and I just see this big old long number of grant number, it wasn't registering. I would just look at that first number and then ask, well, is this for trade in 21 or is this for formula in 21? Well, Tony was kind enough to finally explain the code to me so that I could understand a little bit better. So when you see grant 20-661023, that 20 is the plan year, the 66 is the type of grant, and the 23 is the LWIA. So all of ours should always end in 23 because we're LWIA 23. The type varies. Our formula is always going to be a 68, trade is 66. And then 1E or emergency is 65. There are probably other codes that I've not seen yet, but these are the three that I see the most. So that 20-66-10-23, that's going to be the trade grant from plan year 20. And then the 68-10-23, those are formula grants. So that's just a little tidbit that helped me out and hopefully it will help you out as well. So then getting into the reports themselves. This might be a little hard to see. Oh, and it is doing the cool thing. I have these color coded, but it's not showing up very well on this projector. It's showing up well for those of you who are joining us remotely. So enjoy the colorfulness of the presentation. But this first report here, this is our county level participation data. So these starred areas, I wonder, does my mouse, can you see my mouse? No. The starred areas, we have it up here at the WIOA grant and the trade grant number. I wanted you to note that's those grant numbers that we just talked about. Enrollments, this refers to those people who have been enrolled but might not yet be receiving services. Participants, they have received at least one direct training service. And then here's that direct training. So the stars correlate with the the definitions. And then I put this fun little arrow there to kind of draw your attention to, when you see this report, it's broken down by county. So of course, take a look at your county and look at the totals. But this participant served in your county percent of total is what I want you guys to take a close look at. Because some of those they're not all even. It's one big pie. We don't determine at the beginning of any grant that we're going to split it up completely evenly, or we're going to designate 20% for Effingham County and only 10% for Pulse County or anything like that. This is very much reliant on many factors, but the one that you guys can control the most is your outreach, your engagement in the communities, and your communication with us as staff and service provider. So be taking a look at that every month and thinking, am I doing enough to progress this mission? Am I making the connections necessary so that our communities and my counties are getting these benefits, or what can I do better? Or we're doing really great and this is cool and we have the most, and yay, let's not let anyone else catch up to us. So then the second report, and these are generally in the same order every month. Debbie puts them all together and it's cohesive and consistent. So then your second page is typically a very similar report. It's the county level participation data, but it's broken down into dollars as opposed to participant numbers. So again, we got that big old star that says, take a look at the county and the arrows, look at it overall, but also pay attention to your county and see those dollars that are going to your county. You guys have any questions on those first two? They're pretty similar. No questions? All right, this one is fun. And again, the color coding didn't transfer well, but this is our key metrics. So this one gets a little confusing even for me. It took a long time for me to kind of understand exactly what we're looking at. But the stars represent, again, some of the definitions. So we have obligations, direct training, and youth. Is that what I meant by the stars? Probably. I did this last week. I've already forgotten. So the obligations, that is for the top two, is for the same grant, just the 2 different years, because we're on a 2-year grant cycle. So our first key metric is to obligate at least 80% of the entire formula grant for the first year. And then the next key metric is to then have 100% obligated or spent by the end, because it's just for 2 years. If we don't spend it all, we got to give it back. We don't want to give back money. It's no fun. So then we look at obligations for year 1 and 2, because we always have those 2 grants going at the same time. So that's why those first 4 lines are 2 grants. And then we get into direct training expenses. We want to have that be 50% of our expenditures. So we keep a good eye on that. Typically, the last few years, we've been ending around 60, 62%. So we have plenty of cushion. But the intent is that we're not spending a ton of money on overhead. I'm not getting rich. They're not spending a lot of money on my salary. You all are not spending a lot of money on my salary. We're putting that towards the communities and getting people the training, the education that they need to be successful in the workforce. So we keep an eye on that. And then we look at youth funding stream, and we break that down as youth in school. We want that to be no more than 50% of our budget. And that's only because that is a waiver right now. In the future, we will likely go back to, we don't want youth in school to be more than 25% of our youth budget. And then overall, we look at youth funding to make sure that we, at least 20% of that is spent on work experience as well. So those are the metrics. And then what I want you guys to check out every month on the report is the status for each of those. Now, at the beginning of the fiscal year, of the plan year, we're not always going to be meeting those because it takes some time to get up there. So be looking for those not meetings. And I did try to color code those in red. And then if you're concerned about why we're not meeting, if it's not a timeline issue, that's when you ask us questions or ask for explanation. Debbie's normally pretty good. We're up front and tell you this is why it's going on, but just for your own peace of mind, keep an eye on it and feel free to ask questions. Debbie, did I miss anything on that one? All right. Any questions? Awesome. All right, then we get to our statement of expenditures, the WIOA and apprenticeship navigator budgets. So this is the budget that I know we have 2-year grant cycles, but we start a new budget for Lakeland for each year in that grant. So we're just looking at 1 year at a time here. And this is the overhead that includes salary, fringe benefits, any contracts, facility costs, office expenses, travel, that kind of thing. So the little red arrow is pointing you to just take a look at that and see if it makes sense that we have expended about 33% of that budget, and that makes sense because we're about a third of the way through the plan year. And then the same, typically, we just present the Lakeland budget, but because this year we have the apprenticeship navigator budget, we've included that at the bottom half of this report so that you can keep an eye on that one as well. Any questions? That one's pretty easy. All right, and then we have the report for financial oversight by CEOs and LWIB, the summary of financial activity for service providers. Now, we're really lucky in that we just have one service provider, CEFS. Other LWIAs have several, so it is important to be looking at all of those individually. But we just have one, so this one's pretty easy. In the purple, we have the budget. The blue is the actual expenses, and the red is what we have left. So I got the arrow pointing at under the expenses side, looking at that direct training and just making sure that percentage stays over 50%. All right, and then we're on to the report of training provider expenditures. So this report is a list of all of the training providers that we have worked with, basically, and then a list of the expenses to date for the ones that we're working with currently. So like right now, we can see we're working with 160 Driving Academy, Illinois Eastern Community Colleges, Kaskaskia, Lakeland, Lincoln Land, Southern Illinois, and Vincennes. This is a transparency report. We want you to take a look at where that money's going. And I have the arrow pointing at Lakeland so that you know Lakeland's the fiscal agent, but Lakeland's not getting all of the money. This is how you see it is being spread out amongst training providers at the customer's choice. We're not forcing anyone to go to Lakeland. Lakeland's not abusing their power by taking all of the money, because they wouldn't. I got Lakeland over there, like, we would never do such a thing. But this is just so that it's a reminder that, yes, while we are housed at Lakeland and we're Lakeland employees, we really are, and Seth is really good at making sure that we're doing what's best for the customer, not what's best for the college necessarily. And then these ones are little because this is the GRS. We talked about that, the grant reporting system. So this is what DCO sees. It's all that same information, but just mushed into different categories that DCO likes. The cost and the cash requested for each grant, they're updated each month. So if you ever have any questions about those reports, feel free to ask. Is there anything I'm missing on those ones? Because that one's, it's not a whole lot to talk about on that. Unless you have any specific questions. Seen those in the past and you're like, what are they? And I still don't get it, or feel good about them. I could tell you I'll feel really good about these ones. So. All right. So then just remember, we got some meetings coming up in March and June. And there's our contact information, but you already know that. So any questions at all over the training? Hearing none. Thank you. I appreciate your time. If you do think of any questions, reach out to me or Debbie, probably Debbie because she's better at this, but reach out to one of us and we'll help you out. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jamie, very much. It's good to understand a little bit more. That's always good. So, all right, we're going to move on to item 5 on the agenda, committee reports. If you all remember the minutes from last month, Chris worked overtime, made the big bucks on all the reports, and Chris gets to do it again this month. So, Chris, we'll let you start out with the oversight plan.
Oversight and Planning Committee met Thursday afternoon. We had a report from Debbie. She went through all of the grant recipient reports, some of the very same reports that Jamie just showed us a better way to read them or to be able to analyze those reports better. But Debbie went through all of that information with us on Thursday evening. Lori went through the performance reports with us and showed us where we're at as far as percentages for all of the grant dollars. We also heard from Tony on program and fiscal monitoring. They did have one monitoring visit with the Child Development Center during the last 3-month period of time. One of the things you're gonna see on the agenda farther down is the service provider contract. The Planning and Oversight Committee does look at the service provider contract, and as Jamie had talked about, CEFS is our service provider. We have a 3-year contract with CEFS, and we are recommending to the board that we do a 1-year extension on that 3-year contract, which still follows the letter of the law or the act, the WIOA Act. And then next year about this time, we'll be putting out the request for proposal for Title I to be able to bid on the Title I program again. So again, the recommendation from the Planning and Oversight Committee is to extend that 1-year contract out. Our next meeting, we will be having at the CEFS office. Lori has promised us a coffee bar, so we'll be meeting there on March 16th at 4:30 for our next Planning and Oversight Committee meeting. I'll move on to you.
Joe, right, they're on a roll.
Youth Committee met earlier this afternoon. We met at 3 o'clock here in the building. We talked about a couple of different things. Probably the biggest thing that we talked about and the most discussion that we had was around the Youth Committee. We have not had a tremendous involvement over the last, Tony says 15 years. I haven't been on these committees for that long, but the Youth Committee is not as robust as what we'd like to see it. We want to see more people who serve youth as part of our youth committee. So right now, under the bylaws, the standing committee, there has to be a certain amount of board members on the committee and a certain amount of others that can be on the committee. What we are going to ask of the board is that we would like to see that as more of an advisory group. We would like to see people coming in that are dealing with youth on an everyday basis, whether they're in school or out of school. That they have daily contact with youth, and we can make sure that the services that we're providing to youth in our communities are the services that they need, not the services we think they need. Sometimes we can think people need things, but it really may not be what they need. So that is going to be one of our recommendations to the board. We would have to do some rewriting of the bylaws to make that not a standing committee, but more of an advisory committee. Lori had also gave us updates on the program here, performance measures. And again, as Jamie talked about those program years, right now we're at the beginning of a year, and we're only looking at a portion of the year. Some of those indicators show that we're not meeting some of those standards right now. But one of the things we had talked about during the meeting was looking at what you've actually done so far. And looking at percentages so that we know we're going to see some of those second and fourth quarter results look a lot better as we move on, but just keeping an eye on those. And Lori did a really good job of being able to explain to us, this may be only 1 or 2 other participants that we need to go over the hump. So she's very aware of what she actually went into detail with us, what those numerators and denominators look like to get those percentages. You make sure I didn't forget anything. Lori also covered that there are 2 career planners, one in Alney and one in Mattoon, that we have not had a lot of applicants for. CEFS. CEFS has not had a lot of applicants. If you know someone that might be interested in one of those career planner positions or even the accounting specialist, the CEFS website will have all of the information as far as their employment package and also applications and things like that. They've served 131 youth so far this year. Much shorter meeting than the other 2 of our. So we got a very good report from Jamie on the business service team and some of the things that the business service team has been doing. One of the things we did recently was hold a round table that we held at the Cookie Center. And it was with our healthcare providers and childcare providers. And they talked about some of the barriers to hiring people. It was a very good, I see Courtney nodding his head. It was a really, really good meeting. We heard a lot of good information, and we're going to be following up some of the information that we heard. Lori gave us a report on the One Stop. So the One Stop is back open for our Title I folks. For IDES for Casey's office, they will need to still make an appointment, but move on, right? We heard some partner reports from Title I, Title II, and Perkins. And then just some other general information, things that have been going on in the area where we were either serving youth or adults. Any questions?
You all understand really where we're going with this youth committee and why? Going to more of an advisory type of, I'm saying that word now, there hasn't been an official title given to it, but kind of into an advisory type of things. It's been difficult to get quorums in these committees. It has to change our bylaws. But then that's going to open this up to allow others that would not qualify for the committee to come on and help that advisory board and hopefully get this youth program kind of jump started and get it going a little bit stronger. So I hope I've explained that somewhat, right? I caught the last part of that meeting, or the last probably half of it. That's kind of, it was a good conversation. We understand the issue or the problem with creating this, and you just can't keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. So let's try this, see what it's going to do. So it's going to take some changes. Yes, sir.
Would you bring in these advisors, getting conflict of interest, these people are dealing with you all the time when they come here? Yes.
I would not say they would be asking for money. They would be giving referrals to our Title I folks and be able to. Really, what I see the advisory committee doing is saying, these are the things we're seeing in youth right now. So if you talk to someone who's dealing with youth right now, there's a lot of mental health going on right now. There's a lot of different kinds of mental health issues we didn't see prior to the pandemic. And just being able to sit around and talk about, does there need to be additional referrals to mental health agencies? So it wouldn't be that they would be coming and asking for money, but they might be giving us referrals for students who could take advantage of our programs. I hope I answered your question.
And you're looking to change the makeup of the committee, not just add advisory members to it, but then change who's on the committee.
Some may slack, but some may stay on and, you know, because they love that committee so well and they want to see it succeed. Okay? See it succeed.
We still report to the board, the recorder.
It sounds like an appropriate change. I mean, you gotta get people that have ear to the ground for the industry.
And to reiterate what Chris said, still coming back and report to us. You. Okay. All right, just a little bit different structure, all this. Any other questions for Chris and Spray Doc?
Quick question, second planning, CFS current partner for the previous partner for the previous contractor. Have they always been the partner?
They've been the partner as long as I know, and I don't know how long they've been the title.
Quite a while.
Been a long time.
Been a
They
long
were the adult youth contractor since I've been here, and I've been here since 2003.
Started in nice.
But there's not been that many times.
Seriously.
But I don't, and you can correct me, but I mean, I've been on that committee that looks those over, you know, and there's only, since I've been on, there's only once that there was two bids
Bidders, yes,
that
correct.
come in. When this time comes, after, if the board approves another year with CFS, then when this time comes, that it gets opened up to bids. Okay, and then they've got this whole menu of things they've got to qualify for, pages and pages. And Tony loves us to go through that. And then we go through that, and then sometimes we have to score them. If there's, you know, whether it's one bidder or two bidders, we still have to score them as far as where they rate. Okay. Based upon the information they provide us through the bid process. Okay.
Before you said that they did the youth and whatever, so can somebody come in and bid on I just want to bid on this?
Not
Don't
anymore.
anymore?
We set it up, the RFP process to be, we only want one agency to bid all three to eliminate the overhead.
Sure.
Because we have the 50% rule now, where 50% has to go to training. If you've got two agencies with two sets of overhead, that just produces what you can give to clients direct training.
So that way some of the other LWIOs have more than one provider because they have divided it up? Or do they have more than one provider doing the whole scope, but doing it in?
They have
portions of
some,
their-
they have some providers that just focus on youth and some that just focus on adult and dislocated worker. And then some of them have it worked out to where they are the service provider. I'm still not exactly clear on how they can make that work, but they do. It's,
Right, sure,
they're all,
yeah.
it's working for them. I just don't know how. So a lot of them, it is just all in-house. They're providing those, or like St. Clair County area, they were doing adult and dislocated worker in-house and just contracting out for youth. And now they're even drawing youth in. So now it's all completely in-house. So it's really cool, but also very confusing in that we have so many LWIAs doing the same things, but in different ways. So it's interesting, and it just depends on the geographic region, the population, and what agencies are in that area as well. So ours is nice and easy because we have CEFS and they're all across our area. And it makes things a lot easier for us as a board. A lot of other LWIAs don't have that privilege.
Understand? Very good. Okay, all right, very good. Okay, there is no executive report. Did not meet for that. So we do need a motion to approve the reports as provided. Yes, Courtney, makes a motion. Do I have a second? All right, Deb, read. Provide the second. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Okay, next, we get into the item 6. Lori, the service provider report.
We received a warrant notice for premium packaging located in Paris, and that was back in October. According to the notice, the layoff was scheduled to begin on December 2nd and anticipated to be completed on or before December 23rd. However, employees were already laid off from the facility when we received the notice, and they were no longer working. So a rapid response was held November 7th. We only had 2 individuals show up. So I don't know. The company wasn't real forthcoming as far as providing names to the state. So I don't even know how these 2 people found out about me. But we did read materials with the city for anybody that might be interested in our services or learning a little bit more about the benefits. So our concern that there's people out there needing assistance and they don't know about what's available. We also received word that Heartland Dental here in Effingham laid off several employees on December 5th. DCO, they have reached out to the company to get an exact number. We've heard all kinds. We've heard 60 something, we've heard 200, 300. So they're going to be working with them, and hopefully we will get something worked out as far as providing some rapid response information to them. DCO, they were here back the latter part of September and did some eligibility and IWDX training for us, for all the staff. The training intended to include the protection of personal identifiable information, overview of WIOA general eligibility, selective service, serving veterans, WIOA low income, basic skills deficiency, determining youth, adult, dislocated worker eligibility, and we did some related case studies. We also attended the 22-23 performance negotiation, which was held on September 27th. 15 indicators of performance across adult, dislocated, and youth programs. We discussed, and we did come to an agreement on all of those indicators. Like Chris said, we do have some positions open. We'll repeat those. We're just having problems, people showing up for interviews. We have 4 or 5 interviews scheduled. We had 4 interviews scheduled. It was 0 for 4. So a lot of wasted time on we're driving 70 some miles to the office, and we did no calls, no shows. So I know we're not any different than a lot of employers, but what it should us to. So we're continuing to meet the both, see if we can find some. Fall semester area colleges, coming to a close real quick. I think they're either doing finals this week, aren't they? Staff are busy preparing for spring semester with their customers. Orientations, will be doing those for the new semester in January. We're not making any new enrollments for the spring semester due to our enrollment levels. So those folks that we've got coming in, interested in going to school, we do put them on a waiting list. We do prioritize those. Those most in need will be the ones served the first. We continue going to the Illinois Workforce Partnership meetings and the Workforce Task Force meeting monthly. Two of our real career planners recently completed the Family and Community Development Specialist credential through the Illinois Association of Community Action Agencies. And this FCD training is just a real good opportunity that equips community action staff with the mindset and skills needed to work with individuals who experience them. And as of November 30th, we have served 342 customers, receiving career and training services through all of our programs. We've had 53 customers that have been exited, and the total number served to date is 295.
Good job. Thank you, board, very much. Hey, Jamie, you're up again
All
for the
right.
fiscal agent report.
See if I can make this work again. I think I have to do it. 1 second. Hold on. Yes, there we go, but I don't think I'm screen sharing it. Dang it. Hold on. I'm almost there. Now here. This one. This one. This one. How's it look, Tony?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm back again. Yay. Welcome to the grant recipient fiscal aid report, kind of, maybe. Still the wrong one. Did it advance on your side? No? Okay. Now, did it advance? Well, it did up here, so I'm going with this one. So on your tables, you should have a copy of the brand new annual report for plan year 21. So that report includes some highlights and some really cool things that happened from June 21st, or no, July 1st of 21 to June 30th of 22. It's late on a Monday. And I say that, but I'm like this first thing on a Tuesday morning too. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm just always like this. So yes, please peruse at your leisure. It's riveting reading. Take a look at it tonight, right before you're trying to fall asleep. And it will be up on our website soon. We have to compress it and do some weird stuff to make it fit, but we'll get it up there. So also want to talk about, we did receive a new trade grant. So the purpose, like I talked about in trade grants earlier, is to provide assistance to workers who have been adversely affected by a foreign trade. So this trade grant applies to people who were affected by LSC closing and Pittsburgh Glass Works. Was that the right one? I think you told me to fix that. Okay. And then there's 6 participants on this current grant, and it is for the amount of $52,535. Then just a summary of incumbent worker training that is going on right now. We have several projects open, and I think even just since doing this report, we've got a few more on there. So like we have Peerless in Effingham, Irwin Seating in Altamont, Lester Building in Charleston, Charles Industry and Marshall, The Equity, AM Transport, ConAgra, Big 3 Precision, Wintke Plumbing, and JB Esker. So we have about $41,911 remaining out of the funds that we set aside for incumbent worker training. So we got a pretty good amount going. I think on average, the last 5 years, we do about 7 projects a year. And right there, we're already over that 7. So it's been a banner year, and I think there's going to be even more in the works. So that's exciting. Thank you for all your work on that, Tony. So then we get to our apprenticeship expansion grant, the Apprenticeship Navigator. So that grant, the purpose was to increase registered apprenticeships in Illinois. So since April, when we got Nate, our Apprenticeship Navigator, we've had fleet truck driver, feed mill operator, diesel technician, construction driver, automotive tech, lead preschool teacher, and professional brewer approved. That's really cool. And we have some coming soon. So additional CDL, fleet driver, recruitment specialist, and RN, LPN apprenticeships. Nate, do you have anything that you want to add to that, or?
Love to host lunch and learn or some sort of event or after hours local chambers. And some of your local chambers have not been responding to my emails going home because they think that I'm spam. I am not spam. I'm not gonna name names. Reminds me, calling them shade, tell them to email me first. We really appreciate the work that you are establish these relationships. We really believe in the power of just apprenticeships, but obviously. Also success provides, and you as our voice in the community, will help stand out. We do the programming so far. We love to develop programs like that in your community. You do some of the work for us. The 3 of us, we cover 13 hours. We really rely on your influence as leaders to help us get it done. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nate. To tag along on that. Maybe. Oh, now I've made everything not work. Okay, is it working now? Awesome. So I'm not going to press play because I question the integrity of my technology setup at this point. But for National Apprenticeship Week in November, Lakeland and LWIB 23 partnered together to put on the Spotlight Apprenticeship event. So Nate was the MC. We had a panel discussion with employers who support apprenticeships and Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs. Then we had a signing event where new apprentices signed with their employer to celebrate the fact that they're taking a new path towards their career goals. Like there's a lot of fanfare and emphasis on student athletes that sign on with a new college, and it's really cool and it's exciting, but why aren't we doing the same types of celebration for people who are starting their journey to being self-sufficient and to being able to provide for their families and for being able to achieve their career goals. So it was really neat to see them sign with Lakeland College, CBI, Bonnie Moore was there to sign, and then the employer, a representative from each employer was there to sign with them as well. They did pictures, they had family present. It was really neat. And I feel like there was something else that the panel. Oh, and then Dr. Bullock, the president for Lakeland, he did a proclamation that Lakeland recognizes National Apprenticeship Week in November. So it was a really fun event. It was super cool. And it was heartwarming to see these people get excited for their futures. I'm hoping that we'll be able to do something similar next year as well. And maybe it will continue to grow. So if you did not make it this year, put it on your calendar for next November. Come check it out. It was really neat. And this is just a short, like 53-second video, just a synopsis of the events with some really cool shots. So I think I put it in our monthly newsletter. So I'm sure you all clicked on that, played it, and watched it on YouTube. So we don't have to do it again here. All right, then I wanted to give an update on Talent Pipeline Management Academy. So Talent Pipeline Management is taking the idea of supply chain management and applying it to the workforce. And it's not groundbreaking. It's stuff we're already doing. It's just taking a more deliberate approach, a more collaborative approach, in really identifying where our talent is now, where it will be coming from in the future, and making sure to make just very intentional efforts to have the most robust talent supply pipeline in the area, and to keep those students that come and those employees that come from those talent pipelines, keep them in the area as well. So we don't lose people to move away to the big city where all the hopes and dreams are. Like, we got hopes and dreams here. We want to keep them here. So Nate actually went through Talent Pipeline Management Academy over July through September, and went over their 6 strategies to the concept. And then I have been accepted to the next academy. So orientation was just on December 5th. Then we'll go over the 6 strategies between now and May 24th. So between us, using our business service team and our workforce partners, we're hoping to foster this ecosystem of collaboration and intentional partnership to produce very highly skilled talent right here, homegrown, that makes our communities more robust and improves quality of life. So I'm really excited about it. There'll be more information coming. I'll try to keep talent pipeline management stuff in the monthly e-newsletters as well. So if you ever have any questions about that or ideas and want to learn more, reach out to me and we will do that. So just a reminder that our mission is to create a workforce talent pipeline. It's right there in our mission anyway, so we should be doing talent pipeline management. Our mission is to create a workforce talent pipeline connecting people with sustainable employment through our training services. So what are you doing to influence the talent pipeline? And what do you think the local workforce will look like in 5 years? Does anyone want to share some thoughts of what they're doing right now? Those gears they're moving, right? They're moving, but that Texas sheet cake kind of gumming up the gears a bit. So I want you to keep that in mind, though. Think about what you're doing personally, what you're doing professionally. Think about your children, your grandchildren, any young adults that you have influence in their lives. What are you doing to make sure that they know what opportunities are here in the area? How are we developing that pipeline, the future talent, and what else can we do? What do we need to prepare them for in the next 5, 10 years? I keep thinking about that. I have a 14-year-old son, and we have career discussions often. And I know critical thinking is one of those things that he's going to need, but I don't know how to make him do it. So if y'all have any suggestions, let me know. I'm open to those. But how do we get them to think about the future, and what do they need to start being interested in and preparing for to be, productive members of society?
I think the workforce is gonna have to know how to work remote, a lot of it. It just seems like, and since the pandemic, that a lot of the business has found out that they don't need to have a 3-story building or, this big office space or whatever. People can work remotely. So they need to get those tasks. But then on the other side of it, we farm, so it's very difficult to find anybody that wants to do physical labor anymore, I mean.
You haven't got farming remote yet?
No, they've got now, we've got the, where you can drive your tractor and you just snap something on there, you can do that.
I think we're gonna be challenged 2.5 years. The kids in junior high are gonna be in the workforce. And we're gonna have to be prepared to help. Because I think they've fallen behind. And I think that will show up in 5, 6, 7 years. Unless the education system adjusts itself also. But we've got to be prepared to step in.
Thanks. Perkins is unit is making sure that we get the resources that instructors need to make sure that the students are ready for the workforce. But there is something else to that, is that the employability skills, kind of had a pretty big focus on. And I think that's another missing gap, where that time that socially that they were out of the loop, think that's what one is. But of course, it's Perkins, you, that's one of the big focuses, making sure that they have all the tools they need. And we've actually done a lot of the, we've added things onto the Perkins grant was employability skills. Like there's certain things for diesel mechanics, like it's called Skills USA, there's CTSOs that are like, not only challenging in their field, but actually to challenge them mentally so they can actually interact with other people. Because a diesel mechanic sounds like he's gonna work on himself all the time, but that's really not the case. He's gonna have to interact with the sales counter, et cetera, the customer. So that's been a big focus for IECC on Perfect side is finding ways to tie that in with the products that they need to work on, but also those soft skills on top of that knowledge.
Yeah, for sure, that customer service. I mean, my son was remote learning, e-learning, and it's so funny because he doesn't go anywhere to hang out with his friends. He's on a game and he's talking to them and they're all together in this cyber area and that's what he's used to, what he's comfortable with. That's what he learned during e-learning. And then we're talking about if he's going to get a summer job, well, you're going to have to talk to people. And he has a hard time even like ordering at a restaurant. He doesn't want to make eye contact. He talks really low because he's so used to not having someone in front of his face. I don't think that's unique to him. I think that's going to be pretty widespread and we got to get, in the next few years, students now that are so used to being in this bubble, get them to be ready to socially interact on a professional level, for sure.
Educationally, students, as I think everyone's kind of aware, are 2 years behind. Many teachers are concerned because, if they're a high school freshman teacher, students are coming in with about 7th grade skills. Remote learning didn't work for everybody. And so it's putting the freshman year behind, trying to help kids catch up. I know last year I tutored 3 students at a Christian school that had come from public school. And they couldn't keep up with the Christian curriculum. And so that's when I kind of stepped in to try to help them. Because the Christian school did not close during the pandemic. And so some of these kids from public school are coming over. And I'll tell you what, we volunteer. This year I'm teaching 3 classes, okay? At the school. I turned it off that time position. This is what we're seeing. I've got classes with kids coming over from public school and they're behind where the other students are. So I'm doing some more volunteer after school tutoring, to try to catch them up. But I think this is nationwide. This is not just this area. So again, like we're saying, the employment is MIQ percent. They're used to being on a computer, they're not interacting. They've lost these personal skills or haven't had a chance to develop them. Plus they're educationally behind. They're going to have quite a challenge, I think, in the workforce.
I would say it's not just kids, we have adults who have a very difficult time interacting with each other. We have actually developed a document called Premier Employer. That was our 5-year plan that we created an operator progression program. And part of that, a large part of that is teaching communication skills and actually doing fun activities, even with adults, they love it, in a classroom setting where they learn to communicate, they learn to work together as a team. And it's mandatory, they go through the first portion of it, and then there's advancement opportunities that they can see additional classes that they take in order to support their career growth, and they also can see their ability to improve and develop their compensation as well.
That's very interesting. That's cool that you guys are doing that, but it's also, it's interesting that you see this need and you're addressing it, and that's wonderful, but also it's interesting that we're seeing this need with adults. Like you feel like at some point they just, I know I need to do this, so let me do it. I will do it.
Or they
But
don't want to,
They don't want to, yeah,
there's a lot of complacency,
yes.
as well as entitlement. And I mean, I'm 61 years old and I've seen a significant change in the workforce today from when I grew up. You know, that people just only want to do the bare minimum for things that they can get away with. So for us, it's really about developing a culture.
Mhm.
And giving them the tools to be successful and making it an expectation. And then rewarding that. We also do a spotlight program and reward good behavior and stuff, trying to develop that culture that they want, where they want to be. You know, I came from Starbucks before I went into manufacturing, so that was poured in.
Yeah, and there's such a difference now going to Starbucks and getting that almost, it's conversational interaction, even if they're faking it and they don't really care how my day is, like they make me feel like they do.
Oh, they.
And then I got my start at Arby's where it was very customer service driven, and now I go to McDonald's or Wendy's and it's, what do you want? And that element's missing. And you just see the stark contrast between Starbucks and some of the other fast food restaurants where it's not such a high priority. Like they are getting by with the bare minimum. And I can't say I blame them. Maybe I would have too. Maybe. There's some days I wish we were still doing Zoom meetings and I could just turn my video off and listen. But yeah, I've seen a difference just in my few short years from my Arby's days to now. So it's interesting what the next 5 years are gonna look like. Yeah.
Julie's got some chat.
I
You
think,
can't see it.
well, like I
I can read it.
read it, yeah.
Says Kaskaskia College is hosting 8th grade parent student nights at the junior high school buildings. The evening begins with students taking the 6-question MZ career assessment and then using the KC Career Pathways tool to map out a path with dual credit toward their chosen career cluster. Additionally, we have built in a career camps for junior high school students and several grants which will focus on health science careers, STEM careers, and industrial trades careers. The 8th grade parents student nights have been very well received and is expanding a great deal this year.
Awesome. That is exactly that talent pipeline stuff that's influencing the future talent. And is a great segue to some save the date stuff. I put 8th grade career conference. Lakeland College Perkins program partners with the Eastern Illinois Education for Employment Systems 340. That's a K through 12 career and technical education side to put on annually an 8th grade career conference, complete with representation of all 16 career clusters. So 8th graders have a chance to explore what careers and occupations are out there for them in this area, to get their questions answered, to have a better understanding of what kind of classes they need to take and think about in high school, what they should consider, what kind of education post-secondary that they need to be aware of, and then what kind of salaries involved, what their duties are, all that kind of fun, interesting stuff. Because Lakeland College is between Perkins specialists right now, I volunteered to help out as the recruiting businesses to be career presenters at this event. So one, I want to bring it to your attention because I'm helping and I need help getting businesses to this thing. It's March 30th through and 31st. But also because it speaks directly to that talent pipeline management. It is industry partnering with secondary education and post-secondary education and workforce, that we are all intentionally coming together to identify, we have this talent pool of 2,000 8th grade students in this area. How do we get them to be thinking about their career options and get them on the right path as soon as possible? Or just do more exploration so that in the near future, they could be making those choices as well. Because it is a heavy lift to ask 8th graders what they want to be for the rest of their life and start on that path right now when I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But this is a really cool event. As a Perkins specialist previously, I helped with coordinating it. So it is near and dear to my heart, and I am excited to be able to help out by recruiting businesses. So if you guys work with any employers, people who do just really cool things in their professional lives, encourage them to contact me if they're interested in being a career presenter. It covers 2 days, but there's two sessions each day. They don't have to stay for all 4 sessions. And Perkins does feed them a pretty good lunch if they do attend all day. So any potential possibilities, send them my way, please. And then also just to get it on your calendar now, the WIOA Summit, save the date is out. So May 11th and 12th in Peoria. The next WIOA Summit will happen. So really cool stuff going on. We have wonderful opportunities in the area and we need talent. So let's, make this concentrated effort to prime the 8th graders now so that they will be highly skilled employees in our workforce in the future. So also, don't forget, we do have our podcast, WIN, Workforce Innovation News. We've had quite a few interesting episodes so far. We got some in the hopper that are coming out in the next couple months. But also remember that this is a service to you and our workforce partners. So if you have something interesting going on in your area, you guys have a new initiative that you want to bring focus to, just spread awareness, let me know. We can schedule an episode. It's super easy. It takes 30 minutes to record. Me and you just talk. It's very low key and it's fun too. So that is available to you. Make sure that you're subscribing so you can hear some cool stuff that's going on with our other partners, but also if you want to be a guest, let me know. And then Lakeland College will be closed December 23rd to January 2nd. So me, Tony, Debbie, and Nate will not be in the office, but we'll be back January 3rd. So from our house to yours, happy holidays and cheers to a happy new year. Guys, have any questions for me? Awesome, thank you.
Okay, Jane, thank you very much. Okay. Down to item 8, this is what Chris alluded to earlier. We'll let Tony go ahead and do a little bit more explain.
Yeah, I really don't need to explain it. We've talked about it several times tonight. Seth's contract expires 6/30/23. And we have the option to give them a 1-year extension. And we need to do that at this point in time, because if the board happens to say no, we have to have time to do an RFP before the contract starts July 1st. So what we're asking is for a vote and approval of the extension for Seth's contract for 1 more year.
Okay, are there any questions on that? Kind of go down a little bit. Rate here. What happens to the cost?
No, actually, we take out the allocations we get from the state. Lakeland does their budget, Seth gets their ad. That's how it works.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to extend the contract for another year? All right, Casey, made a motion. Do we have a second? Yes, Courtney provided a second. Probably need to do a roll call vote on that one.
I would assume since it's. I don't know, it's only the contract, it's not fiscally related.
Okay, it's not fiscal.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, so we'll be extending their contract 1 more year. That vote, so, okay, so item 9, other business. You mentioned last month, if there's anything that's awesomely happening in your county, you'd like to know. So we know how awesome your county really is. So, anything anybody wants to share about your county? No, I'll be glad to share about Crawford County. We got an awesome county. I told you last month, we had an awesome county. We're opening up, they got the shell up on a ginger ale. Got that all up, they made it full concrete, work there. Of course, I told you last month, we had a truck wash going in behind our Hershey and the Tigo plant. Hershey's already got their expansion going, already got parking lots done, got a lot of this work going. We're hoping that the truck wash will be open for business first part of the year sometime, first quarter. But the goal is hoping for that. Groundwork has started on a Wendy's in our county. Groundwork has started at GC, Big Rec Center, and we're adding as well. So all positive. Yes, sir.
All this positive,
Yes.
are they ever gonna open up Route 1? It's open, sir. Yeah, yeah. 18 months. Yeah, that would be a good question, but anyway, it is open, you don't have to go around. It was detour to maybe go through town so you can spend some money. Yeah, it's all a lot. How, yeah, yes, it is. Does anyone else have anything to share? We like to hear good news if we can hear it. There for a while, we're really giving us a lot of bad news.
Yeah.
Stuff and layoffs and things, but it's not been as bad lately.
I got 3 grandbabies.
That's good. So, all right, is there any other public comment? Yeah, of course. Can I hear nothing, what kinds of restaurants, New Jersey Mike's, Ginger Ale's, Human Beings, it's not and Los Amigos. John Bo's is expanding 90,000 square foot. Beginning in spring and break ground on a homeless suites by Hilton and the Manhattan Hotel. In Diedrich, the Wrights Family Center has started their site work that continues to move forward. They have in the new Diedrich Medical Center is under construction currently. And then in Altamont, the home center reopens the Equity Farm Home Store and BK Resources expanding. Awesome, good. Well, I came to Dietrich, I noticed on the new addition on the east side that they had a sign of a car wash. Car wash, yeah, we've got a lot going on with that, that's park, so. Good. 23. Good, great. Yes, Nancy.
Matthew's doing an awful lot of talk and encouraging to this new sports center starting. $6 million sports center. Real King donated the land, but they're looking for funding right now.
A lot of work.
Funding doesn't happen yet.
Yeah.
But
The EIDA, just on that, we just approved $15 million in help on funding to save tax money. Big sales tax, save 5% on bonds, so that went through on Friday. So we're all pulling together. Good. And they did have a local funding drive that they were hoping to get 10 million. And they pretty good close to that. They think they're going to see. And then they're going to use bonding to do phase 1, which is the interior. All good.
That's a good thing.
All good.
Eventually, then they plan to build restaurants and hotels.
It's all that comes better. That's all good.
Yeah, they finally opened that Hilton that took 3 years to build, it seemed like. Used to live in those apartments right across from there. And it took my daughter would like, how many years does it take to build a hotel, Mom? I don't know, but they finally got it open and it looks really nice.
Well, the only public comment I have is you all have a safe and Merry Christmas, a nice New Year. Does anyone have any other comments in mind? And to what we close? Yeah, thank you. All right, no public comments. Do we have a motion to adjourn? I'm sorry. You make a motion, okay? We have a second. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. CEOs, maybe in the room. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening. CEOs, stay on. I don't think we have any CEOs joining remotely, so we'll just keep it rolling to record.